Why you interested to basketball?
I also love competition and challenging myself to always be better.
When you started seriously playing?
It's a pretty serious game that everyone is just highly interested in.
What's the usefulness of playing basketball?
Girls are pretty good at this.
My last question.
Basketball is one of those sports that you can always improve in, no matter how good you are.
Hello everyone who listening our podcast. How are you? Today we're gonna talk about a very interesting topic, basketball. Today our guest, one of the popular basketball play among the women national basketball, Dania Muhammad. Hello Miss Dania, nice to meet you again. Thank you for your coming.
Hello. Thank you too for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. My first question for you is, why you interested to basketball?
I've always been interested in physical activity and sports. And the reason I like basketball is because it's a very high-paced, free-flowing, and strategic activity. And it's the only sport I enjoyed playing so much, even as a child. I got to meet so many people and made lifelong friendships. I also love competition and challenging myself to always be better. And basketball is one of those sports that you can always improve in, no matter how good you are.
Okay, next, it's interesting that when you started seriously play basketball.
Now, my interest in basketball started ever since I was 10 years old, but I only took it seriously in my last years of school, grade 11 and 12, because I participated in so many competitions and won in nearly all of them. And this is when I knew I should take this hobby seriously and try to level up and train even more.
Thanks, Miss Tania. Everyone knows that you born in Jordan, so you are living in Jordan now. My question is, how is the sports section now improving in Jordan, in your country?
Jordan has always taken sports seriously, and recently more attention is being focused on them, including, of course, basketball. Also, Jordanian players have very high qualifications and good reputation of being great at what they do. So it's a pretty serious game that everyone is just highly interested in.
Dear our listeners, if you like this our podcast in the future, if you want to listen more quality podcasts, you can support us from financial. So here our bank ID, you can send your support for this bank card. So thank you for your watching. Yeah, it's interesting. So next, what's the usefulness of playing basketball?
That's a really good question. Sports strongly affect physical health. They improve heart function, reduce the risk of many chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and really not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. They have a powerful and positive effect on mental stability. They cause the body to release endorphins, happy hormones. They reduce the level of stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline. They also help improve self-esteem and confidence as well.
Okay. Next question is, how do you think for girls basketball is suitable, in your opinion?
Basketball is a very non-aggressive, non-violent sport, and it's a game that almost everyone can take part of. Young, old, male, female, it's universal with very minimal requirement for participation. But it's also team-based and requires planning, and I believe girls are pretty good at this.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe in the future we will see women basketballers who are playing like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant in the future. Okay, my last of question is your advice for listeners or future basketball players.
My advice would be to try and find what best suits you in this sports field, whether it be basketball or any other sport. You will not realize the benefits it has until you get to it. The positive change is phenomenal. And to my basketball player friends, I just want to say keep going, champions. You're amazing, and never let the negative people around you convince you otherwise.
Okay, yeah, you are right. In the future, maybe who listening our podcast will be basketball player, so your advices will be usefulness for them. Miss Tanya, it's time. So thank you for your coming and answering for our questions, for our listeners' questions. So we will wish you all the goods. And if you want, we can finish our podcast. So I think that our listeners enjoyed this podcast. If you want to listen more podcasts and quality podcasts, you can support us. And I think that if you have a good things and get more information, usefulness information, you can share this podcast in your social media. So thank you for your coming and thank you for your